We are talking Osiris from 2025, directed and co-written by William Kaufman. And this one stars Linda Hamilton, Max Martini and Brianna Hildebrand, who you may know from the Deadpool movies. So this is a kind of alien invasion movie, and it focuses on a squad of special forces who are on deployment somewhere, we presume in the Middle East. And it just so happens at this particular time there is an alien invasion, and this squad of commandos get abducted, and they wake up in this ship and effectively are able to escape where they're being held. And it seems that they have been poached as trophies from this kind of alien race, and are en route back to their home planet, where this alien race has decided that it wants to use humans as food. Along the way they meet up with Linda Hamilton and Brianna Hildebrand's characters, who are Russian assets who have previously been abducted, and together they must try and find a way to overcome this alien menace. What will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. So, let us discuss Osiris. Now, this isn't a huge budget movie, but I will say it has a pretty sweet production value. It doesn't look like a kind of a low budget movie. It looks like there is some genuine production behind it. Quite impressive is the kind of the set where this is taking place. That, you know, it's meant to be this kind of spaceship. It's obviously some sort of industrial area, but they've kind of made it out with these kind of like sliding doors and stuff, where it looks pretty good, I've got to say. And one of the things that it might be only a subtle thing, but this sort of alien ship looks lived in, and there's like crap lying around and things like that. It's not like it's all shiny new and looks like a set. There's all like, you know, bits and pieces that have just been strewn about, that it looks like it's just been sort of fallen off a shelf or stuff like that. But it looks pretty impressive, and we see quite a lot of it. Lots of kind of corridors. It actually will feel a little bit like a kind of an FPS game. You know, you'll be reminded of playing Quake or Doom when you're kind of watching it, with these kind of soldiers going through these corridors, fighting off kind of various sort of aliens and things like that. It actually starts with a pretty impressive kind of firefight with these commandos, as they are, you know, in a combat situation, presumably in the Middle East somewhere, fighting whoever they are, you know, they are meant to be fighting. And that in itself is a pretty extended and decent action sequence. It's kind of well staged, lots of kind of explosions. I mean, if you look closely, you can see the kind of like the CGI explosions and stuff. But I think, you know, for the most part, the production design, the value on screen here, it looks pretty good. You know, without kind of being blockbuster level, it's pretty impressive stuff on screen. Equally impressive, I've got to say, these aliens who are like monstrous kind of carnivore aliens that look a cross between the Nemesis from the Resident Evil games and the kind of like the Goombas from the Bob Hoskins Super Mario Brothers movie. You know, you understand when you see them. But the practical makeup is pretty impressive, and there's like laser guns and sort of like kind of laser shields and stuff like that. And there's some interesting kind of mythology building here. You know, we learn that you know, NASA has sent this kind of probe up, which they have years ago, which was meant to kind of you know, be picked up by alien life as a friendly kind of welcome. But these aliens that are seen as the dinner bell. And then we kind of learn a little bit about how these kind of aliens operate. Linda Hamilton and Brianna Hildebrand's character have been on this kind of ship for a while, and we learn that the kind of time works differently, and they've been there for like years, but they haven't aged and things like this. So there's a few kind of elements here that are kind of introduced that kind of expand the world a little bit and expand this kind of the mythology that this kind of movie's trying to build. It doesn't kind of dwell on it too much. It kind of introduces a few things and then sort of, you know, moves on. The acting, I've got to say, is all fine. It's very much on the kind of like the macho action star kind of style of acting here. I wouldn't be expecting, you know, necessarily deep, nuanced performances, but everyone does their job well as this kind of commando unit. Max Martini, I think I've only ever seen him play like military types. He's certainly been somewhat kind of typecast, it must be said, but he does the job well as this kind of squad leader. Linda Hamilton is always great to watch, just kind of playing like a, you know, this Russian kind of like military type, as well as a kind of daughter played by Brianna Hildebrand. But I think everyone does a pretty good job here. It is action-packed. There is loads of kind of like skirmishes between these kind of alien warriors and these kind of soldiers, you know, slightly whom get kind of whittled down. And, you know, it's a fun, well put together movie overall with kind of decent special effects, loads of action. You know, it's nearly 2 hours, but I didn't really feel it drag at any point. I was engaged through the whole movie. I think it's so sort of dynamic. You know, I was fully on board through the whole kind of runtime, and it's overall pretty fun, uncomplicated movie. It's certainly not the most cerebral of sci-fi, but it's, if you just want an uncomplicated science fiction actioner, then this will kind of, you know, hit those buttons for you, I would say. What doesn't work, it isn't particularly cerebral, as I've just said. I mean, there are some things here that you kind of question if you want to be like a little bit picky with it. You know, for example, you know, we have this this group of commandos seemingly have found the cheat code for infinite ammo, and bear in mind there's no like drops. They've only got the ammo that they've got on them. They just seem to never run out, seemingly, with it almost constantly firing. There's a sequence where they ambush a group of aliens, but they don't pick up their weapons, they just leave them there. The aliens, considering they are meant to be like this advanced race with interstellar travel, laser guns, laser shields, they seem, you know, more bestial than kind of an advanced race. I mean, the movie is very, very much like Predators, the third Predator movie. It feels a lot like that. But I think in the Predator franchise, you know, you understood their culture a little bit more. In this one, they seem to have a lot of advanced tech, but they don't seem to be particularly intelligent. They fall for quite obvious distractions and ambushes, like time after time. They don't seem to communicate that much. So I think, you know, they seem monstrous and threatening for sure, but they don't really seem like this advanced race that has developed all this technology. And also some of the kind of the aesthetics here, they're like big, like 7-foot creatures, but there's like, for example, there's like a ladder that we see at the end, and they ain't getting up that. That's obviously for our human characters, but why is it on this alien ship and things like this? And who built this ship? I mean, it just seems that these are huge, clumsy aliens and things like this. The movie is somewhat derivative, I must say. It very much plays like Predator. A group of kind of like, you know, dangerous kind of military-trained individuals are kidnapped. They're kind of put on this this alien ship and then hunted by these creatures who want to collect trophies, but they also want to kind of eat them. It's not really clear how they kind of escaped. They just seem to get out pretty easily, and you know, there's no sort of like sentries from these aliens, and they just seem to get out without any real trouble. I don't really understand how they managed to escape. They just seem to, I thought they may have been let out on purpose, but it didn't really seem to be the case. So again, there's some of the writing here I just think is a little on the convenient side at times, and just, you know, we need the plot to go in this direction, so we'll kind of skip over some of the kind of the you know, the kind of the nuances and maybe the kind of like the trickier things that we had to write for it. As such, the writing's a little basic, you might say. Linda Hamilton is great. She's in it as a supporting role. She's not a main character. She turns up about halfway through the movie, and she's, you know, she does a good job as a kind of a Russian character, but she's only in about half the movie. But, you know, it's more than a cameo. It is a full supporting role. So overall, it's a fun, enjoyable movie. It's not the cleverest movie to be said, you know, both in terms of plot, really. I mean, there's some elements here, especially at the end. I was like, you know, I mean, these people are blowing up. They obviously they're told they're on a spaceship, and they're sort of throwing grenades without any fear of rupturing the hull or anything like that. And then the ending, I was a bit like, that's all I'll say. But it's a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I was engaged. It's, you know, there's monstrous aliens. You know, you can get behind our kind of protagonists. It's a fun, uncomplicated movie. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Would you see it based on what I've told you? If you have seen it, please do let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.